To divert attention from corruption, the government starts a public trial show where the most notorious crimes are judged live, with viewers voting on the outcome. The Korean president delivers an emotional speech, introducing Jo Han, the chief judge who will carry out the people's justice. Kim, a recent law school graduate, is appointed as Jo Han's assistant and is advised by his mentor to observe Jo Han carefully. The third judge is Jinju, another recent law graduate. Judge Jo Han's first case is the geochemical case, where the company is accused of dumping toxic waste that harmed a village. On the same day, a bus rushes towards school children, and Jo Han kills the driver to save them, all in front of a crowd. A suicide note from the driver asks for punishment for the geochemical chairman. Assistant Judge Kim spends the evening with his friend, Lieutenant Inu Yoon from the police. She is excited about Kim's upcoming prominence on the judicial show and his career prospects. Meanwhile, the corporation's legal team prepares for the trial. The lawyer tells the boss not to worry, suggesting that even if proven negligent, the punishment will be less than a year in prison. Judge Jo Han finds out that the bus driver was the father of a girl who died from the toxic waste, but no one was held responsible. Kim thinks this should be considered, but Jo Han refuses to excuse the driver's actions despite the motive. Kim confides in his friend that his mentor asked him to bug Jo Han's office. They check the device, which is working, and Kim installs it in Jo Han's office, risking discovery. He listens to Jo Han's conversations and becomes suspicious when Jo Han meets with the corporation's lawyers, suggesting an unfair trial might be planned. The day of the first episode of the judicial show arrives, with millions of viewers watching as the judges enter the courtroom. The host announces the start of the show and invites viewers to download a mobile app to become jurors in the trial. The prosecutor describes the people who died or were critically affected by the toxic waste, arguing that the chairman should be charged with intentional harm and destruction. The defense disagrees, presenting factory footage and claiming the leak was harmless. They bring in a doctor who says the leak was minor and the village water was safe, but his reaction when asked to drink the water suggests otherwise. Another witness, a factory guard, takes the stand, and Kim suspects he might be lying. The old man claims he warned the chairman about the danger, but the boss ignored him. After his testimony, viewers start voting actively. The chairman begins to panic, and it seems Jo Han is trying to find excuses to soften the verdict. Eventually, the chairman accepts the accusation as negligence and requests a lighter charge. After a brief break, Jo Han returns and announces the verdict. He agrees to amend the charge, but imposes a punishment for each affected person, naming them to sway the audience. Instead of 5 years, the chairman is sentenced to 235 years in prison. To celebrate the first successful session, Jo Han invites his colleagues to dinner, but it ends poorly. Kim accuses Jo Han of being spoiled and used getting his way. To avoid a bigger conflict, Kim leaves. On his way home, Kim reflects on the court events, but is distracted by a yellow car speeding towards homeless people. The car hits an old man on a bicycle, and Kim rushes to help, but the driver flees without consequences. A few days later, Kim questions Jo Han about the witness testimonies, suspecting they were false. Jo Han dismisses Kim's concerns, saying the key was that the chairman was punished and the jurors were satisfied. The yellow car driver keeps speeding around the city, endangering people. He nearly crashes into a car with a child, but the driver swerves just in time. Kim and his friend, dining at a nearby cafe, decide to chase the reckless driver to stop the chaos. Jo Han suddenly appears, stops the driver, and, disregarding the witnesses, takes justice into his own hands by smashing the car. At work, the driver continues to misbehave, bullying his subordinates and forcing a diabetic to eat pastry. That evening, he mistreats restaurant staff, but Jo Han confronts him, warning that their earlier encounter won't be the last. Judge Jinju discovers that their next case is about petty hooliganism and is surprised that such a minor crime is chosen for the public show. Kim, however, is focused on a call from Soo-hun, who is investigating Jo Han and finds an online comment calling Jo Han the devil. Jo Han and Jinju attend an official banquet where they meet the Minister of Justice's son, Yoon Han, who turns out to be the spoiled driver of the yellow car. While the party continues, Kim sneaks into Jo Han's office to retrieve the bug, but Jo Han is already prepared, and they end up in a serious discussion. Suddenly, an explosion occurs in the office, and Kim wakes up in Jo Han's house. The police investigate the explosion, which boosts Jo Han's image as a national hero and a fighter against evil. However, Not everyone agrees with this view. Soo-hyun asks Jo Han about her missing friend, but Jo Han refuses to answer. Once Kim recovers, he explores Jo Han's house and meets Jo Han's niece, Ellie. Meanwhile, the Minister of Justice learns that her son, Yoon Hun, will face a public trial. Enraged, she vows to do everything to save him. The next day, she meets with Jo Han, who insists that their personal relationship will not influence the trial. Soo-hyun tracks down the person who installed the painting in Jo Han's office, suspecting involvement in the explosion. However, the craftsman refuses to testify without a warrant, and the police leave empty-handed. Jo Han decides to take matters into his own hands and visits the workshop at night, discovering that the order came from the Social Protection Fund. Kim manages to call Soo-hyun and let her know he is safe. Soo-hyun asks Kim to investigate Jo Han's life further. Kim follows the housekeeper into an empty room and overhears her making a strange promise to someone in a photo, vowing to do everything to ensure Jo Han leaves the house of its real owner. The next day, Jo Han starts the session by announcing his colleague's illness, but quickly shifts to the main topic, the Minister of Justice's son's violation. The young man, confident he's above the law, refuses to stand in the center of the courtroom. The prosecutor, aware that all victims were intimidated or bribed, speaks on the young man's behalf, and none will press charges. Initially, things go as planned for the defendant. The first victim says he doesn't want to punish the young man, and the defendant's public apology garners sympathy and seems to absolve him of guilt. However, Jo Han changes the course of the case by inviting viewers to use the app to report any previous encounters with the defendant. Many angry people, including the old man on the bicycle, send videos with testimonies against Yoon Hun. Realizing Jo Han's motive, Kim sees the plan unfold. Jo Han shifts the charge to systematic humiliation, and 90% of the audience votes for the maximum punishment. Curious, Kim continues his investigation and explores the basement. He is caught by the housekeeper, who reveals Jo Han's background. She says Jo Han is the illegitimate son of the house's master, brought in as a child. Isaac, the older brother, was the only one who cared for Jo Han, but Jo Han turned against him and harmed many people, including getting rid of Isaac. To prove her story, Jo Han commits another act of cruelty by forcing a homeless man to step off a roof and stealing his watch. Later, the minister meets with Jo Han, offering to pay for her son's freedom. Jo Han, however, demands that she publicly admit she unjustly convicted a man who later committed suicide. Judges Jo Han and Kim are invited to dinner at the Social Protection Fund's office, where they witness the chairman's inappropriate behavior. The situation is saved by the secretary, Jung Seon, who discreetly removes the chairman. It soon becomes clear that Jung Seon holds more influence than anyone else, including the chairman. Meanwhile, the Minister of Justice publicly apologizes for her son's actions and insists he must face punishment. The lawyer tries to argue that Yoon Hun's troubled past as an unloved child affected his behavior, but Jo Han remains unmoved. He delivers an unexpected verdict, public flogging. The people of Seoul support this decision, and Yoon Hun's mother is forced to accept the sentence. The movie ends. Thanks for watching.